Hello. Welcome to our second UBS pre-concert talk for the Bangor Symphony Orchestra's 130th season for Masterworks 2 Symphonic Glory, happening on November 16th at 3 p.m. I am Renia Shterenberg, and I am the Executive Director of the Bangor Symphony Orchestra. I'm joined here today with our Music Director and Conductor, Lucas Richman. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, everybody.
And also our guest artist, violinist Kelly Hall-Tompkins. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, everyone.
So we are very excited to share this pre-concert talk with all of you here today. Before we dive into it, I would like to just take a moment and thank our sponsors. So our pre-concert talk sponsor is UBS Argosy Wealth Management. Our guest artist sponsor for this concert is Birchbrook. Our season sponsors are Karen Foxwell, Laura Kimball, Quirk Subaru, and the University of Maine. Our media partners are Bangor Daily News, News Center Maine, Maine Public Classical, and Sutherland Weston. And if anybody out there wants information on how you or your business can help to support our symphony by becoming a sponsor, you can contact us at the office. Contact Amy Giroux, our Director of Development, at our office line 207-942-5555 extension 2. And for tickets and more information about this concert or anything that the Bangor Symphony Orchestra is doing, you can check out our website at bangorsymphony.org. For tickets, you can call the Collins Center box office at 207-581-1755.
And so for our program on Sunday, the 16th, we've got three great pieces. The first of which is the overture by William Grant Still, Festive Overture, a very celebratory work. And that's a very nice bookend with Antonin Dvorak's Symphony Number 8 in G major. Sandwiched in the middle is a relatively brand new American work. I'm so delighted to talk about it with our soloist, Kelly Hall-Tompkins. And this is the Violin Concerto by Wynton Marsalis. So welcome, Kelly. So great to have you here.
Thank you so
Um,
much. It's great to be here.
I can't wait to collaborate on this piece with you. Uh, I've now the piece premiered in 2015, I believe. When did you start? When did you become aware of it and take it on?
Well, the piece was in exclusivity with the original dedicatee, Winton's wife, as it were. And I didn't know about the piece. I didn't know it existed until the Madison Symphony in Wisconsin invited me to play it. I believe they had asked her, and she might not have been available or something like that. But I was just hearing about this for the first time. And so I listened to the one recording of the piece to just try to decide, is this something that I want to take on? And I was just blown away by the piece. I knew that I had to play this piece. In fact, it felt like it was already in my blood, and yet I had to learn it. It was a strange paradox. It was something that was so immediate and so familiar, and yet it was a major project to learn it as well. So in 2022, that was just a few months before it, towards the end of the pandemic, that I learned the piece, and I played it January of 2022. Since then, in three performances that first time, but since then I've gone on to play it over 20 times. I
And
loved it.
that puts you at the foremost performances, I think, of this piece. Is that uh,
Possibly, yeah.
yeah. Um, we're going to talk about the piece in just a little bit, but uh, your background is so eclectic. Um, from solo work to orchestral to film to Broadway. When you Google Kelly Hall-Tompkins, one of the first things that comes up is the Fiddler on Broadway. So you in the 2016 revival of Fiddler on the Roof, you were the concertmaster, playing all the incredible violin solos for that show.
Yes. Well, actually, there weren't any incredible violin solos until my relationship to that production. There really was only ever dum ba dum bum bum
Yeah.
bum ba dum, and that's it. And when I was invited to that role, I mistakenly listened to the 1971 film, which
Film,
of course features Isaac Stern and the John Williams arrangements with
right?
these amazing violin solos. And my contact who had invited me said, "Are you sure you listened to the right thing? Listen to the Broadway score." And so there was really only that one solo, and I had tried to see if there was a way to include this, especially this big 4 minute concerto-like solo that features Isaac Stern at the opening of the film, but there was no dramatic place for it in the story. I mean, in the film, I believe it rolls over over the opening credits. So there's no dramatic place for it. And as a kind of a consolation, and also as they learned who I am as a player and how eager I was to contribute to this amazing and timeless story, they created solos for me that did not previously exist. And so between Ted Sperling, the orchestrator and somewhat arranger, and mainly Oran Eldor, they wrote and orchestrated solos for me that have never existed in the Broadway score of Fiddler on the Roof.
How brilliant is
So,
that?
yeah, there were times that
Wow.
I was alone in the theater and, with the ability to bring to life the scene that I could see because I was not seen, but until my work was seen, and then I started having a lot of press interviews. But I was on a little perch in the pit so that I could see the actors on stage and they could see me, and there was a communication between us. And so that's what really gave me the clay to mold from night to night, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of the greatest personal and professional experiences of my life.
I can't imagine. How long was that run?
13 months. So
Whoa,
nearly 14, nearly 500, something less than 500 performances.
that's extraordinary.
Yeah.
Have you done other Broadway runs of that length?
I had never done Broadway before. I mean, I think a few times right out of school, I subbed a couple of times, but it was not anything that I necessarily had intended to become part of my life and my career. And that's why I was sort of thinking about it. I was listening to the score to see, and then I thought, eh, what an amazing life experience, no matter how it plays out, to be the fiddler, the actual violin soloist of the eponymously named, Fiddler on the Roof. So
Yeah,
I thought I would do that. But then right after that, the same person who engaged me for that also straddles two worlds between Broadway and the classical world because he was a manager to Itzhak Perlman. So, we sort of speak the same language. And so he invited me to do a run right after Fiddler closed, a limited run of Sunset Boulevard with Glenn Close. And once again, I had almost more solos in that production. Nothing was written for me. Those were all
yeah.
standard Andrew Lloyd Webber score, um but yeah, we were on stage, and to be able to play almost more solos and have a different window into Broadway. So together, I was on Broadway for 18 months, and it was a really interesting, just an interesting avenue in my life and
I,
career.
I mean, the stuff that you'd never think is going to happen when you're in school,
It's
like you
not
could
something I
never,
thought would happen.
never be prepared for that.
That's
Um,
right.
and in thinking about that, like, you've um, suddenly become a real champion of music by living American composers. Not only the Marsalis Concerto, which we're about to talk about, but also the music of Jeff Beal, who's a dear friend of mine. Uh,
Mine too. Yeah,
Jeff just was a notable composer who wrote um, the uh, um, the TV show,
yeah. House
and
of
it's got House
Cards
of
and
Cards. Thank
Monk.
you.
Yeah.
Yes, and Monk and Monk, the theme for the original theme, not the Randy Newman, but Jeff's original is like one of my happy tunes.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Dun ding 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 dee, da 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 dum.
Yeah.
It's like my happy music. I told him that. But he's written a new violin concerto for you, Body in Motion.
Hmm.
So the Marsalis Concerto, you have now played, as you mentioned, 20 performances, and Wynton Marsalis we know as Renia, if you want to put up the slides, the great jazz musician, American composer, very much involved with um, uh, the jazz scene in New York and uh, uh, Music Center, Lincoln Center, jazz at Lincoln Center. I mean, I think it started with him, that whole the jazz at Lincoln Center,
Mhm.
and the director of jazz studies at the Juilliard School, president of the Louis Armstrong Educational Foundation. I mean, that's such a legacy, such an incredible legacy, and his drive as an educator, instrumentalist, composer, and with this concerto, he's melded so much of American life, good and bad. I mean, all walks of joy and stress, and beauty and anguish into this incredible piece, four movements. Um, I've never heard a concerto like this before.
I don't think there is no concerto like this, but I do believe that it is a kind of a rightful successor of of a Bartok in America kind of an idea in the sense that, doing I love the program that you put together for November 16th because doing what Dvorak basically advised American composers to do to use our own material here on these shores rather than only looking to Europe for thematic material. So I do feel that the composers who did that in Europe in the in closer to our time, that this is a piece that sort of harkens back to that while charting all new ground, obviously, in so many ways of its own accord. Um, yeah, I think it's just an exceptional and an extraordinary piece, and uh,
And these four movements encapsulate so much of American life and jazz. And I understand that as he wrote it for Nicola Benedetti, he embraced her Scottish roots as well, and went back to really the beginning of the United States and forming as a country. And in that you get folk elements, you get jazz, the blues, the hootenanny. The Rhapsody itself, I think, is a wonder because it feels like a um, just a through composed uh, um, stream of consciousness kind of piece. Would you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, in that regard, that's the movement that feels most or has the most impressionistic elements, which is very much that. It's like stream of consciousness, fleet of visions and whatnot. But to me, the piece is even beyond the American references to encompass the classical canon. I mean, here is a composer in Wynton Marsalis that is obviously extraordinarily knowledgeable and gifted and facile with the canon that as we have known it prior to this piece. I hear some Shostakovich in there. I even hear some Bach in the way that he constructs the lines. I hear Barber violin concerto. The Rhapsody, as you were saying, with this stream of consciousness. That's one of the things that I always hear in Impressionist music. And to me, the first movement, the Rhapsody, is the one that carries the most elements of that, particularly after that sumptuous opening, very um, you know, the gorgeous melody and orchestration that we have is followed by what we call in our string world bariolage, where we're really accompanying the orchestra with all of this stuff that flits around and then gets into the real, the meat and potatoes of the statement, which has a lot of Shostakovich. It's very, very dissonant while also being just incredibly jaw-droppingly beautiful and consonant as well. And with that kind of the ancestral march, perhaps that is the one that evokes a little bit his wife's heritage because it's very fife and drum like. It's he puts the violin in the fife range quite a lot in this piece. And that ancestral march, which obviously harkens to African roots, together with a sort of Scotch-Irish roots. I mean, it's really a tour de force of blending very authentic to the composer, but these disparate strains of music and influences. But that to me that is exactly what classical music is, and I am so here for it. Like, I'm a complete nerd for classical music. We have, as I like to say, we have 1,000 years of classical music history. But we violinists get about 400 of those years. I'm a nerd for every single one of those years. But the influences that can come into it, if not the actual repertoire, the influences span the whole time, the whole 1,000, 1,200 years or whatever. Um, and I think it's a really interesting survey of the influences of the mind. Like, we're all products of our environment, and this piece is so clearly just this prodigious statement of influences, while being in a very authentic and true voice of his own. I grew up with Wynton Marsalis in my house, the recordings, as the classical trumpet player. I'm not sure how aware I was of his jazz until I was an adult. I'm not really sure. Perhaps I think we might have had a couple of the jazz recordings, but
Mhm.
for me, it was mostly like the Haydn trumpet concerto.
Right,
Like, I
right, right,
remember
right.
that's the Wynton Marsalis I kind of grew up with,
That's true.
and so he writes beautifully for the violin. I mean, with or without being married to a violinist, it's a very uh, resonant and like immediate and just an easy sense of what the violin voice is and what it
Hmm.
can do, and the incredible breadth. I mean, you talked about how many things it expresses. To me, that's one of that's the magic of classical music. It is the only music, in my opinion, that can span the entirety of the human experience, from the very highest transcendent times to the lowest, most desperate, dark nights of the soul. I feel like that's something that classical music does, and this piece has all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
And it comes off very violinistic. There are a lot of contemporary concerti where you say it doesn't that might have sounded interesting on the piano, but it doesn't
Yes,
lie well on the violin. But
exactly.
this feels very organic to the instrument,
It is
which is
organic. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, I think so.
Um, I also I read that he um, struggled, as I could totally understand, with the idea of with his jazz background, you'd expect it to have um, a like a drum set and like a rhythm section um, uh, because that's like the basis of a lot of jazz is the trio, the piano, bass, drums. But in fact, there is that he's able to convey all kinds of subtle different kinds of jazz without that. And there's only one time where there's an actual kind of set, and it's just with you and the drummer in the middle of
Right.
the cadenza,
Yes.
which is it's such an amazing moment.
Yeah. I think, well, it's interesting that he goes in and out of, mostly out of rhythmic groove oriented things. I mean, he uses the orchestra to that end as well, with the stomping and as the opening to the hootenanny.
Right.
That sort of replaces the drum set in a kind of way. And there are
which is
other
which is much
references.
where it's very visceral and
Yes.
real because you got the orchestra stomping and clapping. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
But this is by no means a groove oriented. It's not a jazz violin concerto.
no,
It's a
no.
concerto which has a lot of jazz material, but it moves seamlessly in and out. I mean, I even find the one time that I talked with him about the piece, I told him that I feel like the end of the blues movement is pure Mahler. Like,
Mm,
it's how he goes from Southern Black Baptist Church to a Mahler ending is just I think it's incredible. And that's one of the things about the Rhapsody that's also so stunningly beautiful. The sort of Mahler like going right up to the end and then pulling back. Like,
mhm.
there's so many moments that, to me, that's very indicative, that's very characteristic of Mahler. Of course, Beethoven had his own way of doing that, of sudden dynamic changes. But to me, there's something about Mahler that is aspirational and soaring towards something that's never fulfilled.
Hmm.
And there are moments like that in the opening, in the Rhapsody, but to me, the end of the blues is evokes a very Mahler-like um, conclusion uh, to all of the things that we have experienced thus far. And yes,
Yeah,
that cadenza is very unique. It to me, it's very similar to like the Shostakovich first violin concerto, where the cadenza is also a large statement, though I don't think as large as this one, and it's functionally connecting two movements. In that case, the third to the fourth movement. In this case, the second to the third. And so by the time the audience is, it's the audience has heard an awful lot of music from the
yeah,
beginning to of the second movement through that whole cadenza to the end of the third.
that's
It's
true.
kind
Right,
of
right, right. So the third kind of is the end of the blues is the culmination for all that music you've heard,
all
because
that
there
music.
really is kind of a natural after the first movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then of course the last movement just takes off.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
What about that ending? The ending is
Yeah.
such a surprise.
Yeah. Well, it's symmetrical. He ends the way he ends the first movement, so there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I think it's really interesting. There are moments there. It's a very Copland-esque kind of feel, and then also I know that a dear friend of his over the years has been Mark O'Connor. I played with Mark for several years, and I recognize a theme in there that feels very much like influenced by Mark as well. So you've
yeah.
got these Copeland-esque. There are places in the last movement, Hootenanny, that could have ended the piece on a great, in
Right.
the more traditional way. He opts not to do that and closes it all down like this, like this person walking down the street and just sort of continues on after having all that to say. And it kind of winds down in the same way that the first movement does. It's a very interesting and unique ending. I find that audiences still have a sense of what has happened during the
Yes.
last 45 minutes and they respond in that, accordingly. But it's definitely less expected after all of that music.
It's a little bit of a question mark in a way. Uh,
To me, it's
uh,
just sort of continues, it just continues on. It's like, yeah, I just want to let you know what I was thinking about, but just sort of continues.
Well, I'm very excited to get into this music with you,
Yeah.
and the orchestra is going to have a great time. The percussion section is going to have a ball with this because
Yeah.
there's so much of them to do, and a lot of unusual things for the brass. There's a sousaphone, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of extra sounds that we're not used to hearing in a traditional symphony. But I appreciate that you're saying that it's not a jazz concerto because I didn't mean to imply that
Oh
at
no,
all.
no, that's perfect.
And you're right. They're really he um, is very much aware of the classical heritage as he's bringing it into it. But it's very much an American piece.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear this be written by a European
No,
composer. No.
no, no, no. It couldn't be. I mean, it could only be a Wynton Marsalis work. I mean, it is so unique. But to me, I only mean to say that he brings into it the breadth of knowledge that expands beyond just the near term American voices to include everything that came before. And in a certain respect, it's very traditional. And in a certain respect, I mean, it is a violin concerto. It's nothing aleatoric or experimental.
No.
There's no improvisation except for like just, the feel of it. To me, it always is improvisatory, no matter what the piece, not improvisatory, but imaginative, I guess I would
Mhm.
say, no matter what the piece is, no matter what the century. But in some ways, in those respects, it's very traditional. But in pretty much every other way, it occupies a unique footprint in the repertoire, and it's just I've often said, that I think it's one of the greatest concertos of the 20th and the 21st century. And his copyist cracked me up early on when I was acquiring the music and learning it and asking a few questions back and forth to the copyist about notes. I said that I think it's one of the greatest concertos of the 20th and 21st century. He said, "Do me a favor, will you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Don't ever let Winton hear you say that." But I have told him that, and I just call it like I see it.
And I at times some of the passages remind me of Bernstein. There are
Yeah,
certain things that explosions of when Bernstein goes into a blues, I don't know, full, kind of like in mass, or the certain
yeah.
things that it's a powerful work, and I can't wait to work on this with you.
Ravel
Uh,
La Valse also.
oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Ravel La Valse. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a guttural
yeah.
yeah, kind of thing that um
Driving energy. Yeah.
you are not only so gifted as a soloist, but you in your travels you are also a big proponent of bringing music to the unsheltered community. And that's been such a beautiful gift to communities. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I founded Music Kitchen Food for the Soul. It's the pioneer program in the United States, anyway, to bring classical music to those experiencing homelessness. This is our 20th year. And we've presented, I think, 143 concerts to date, presented over 200 top artists. Most recently, the chamber players from the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields,
I
visiting
saw
from
that post.
London,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and reached an estimated 30,000 shelter clients. Now, talk about something else that I would not have imagined doing. I really love playing so much that I never wanted to do anything that would take me away from playing. But in fact, I learned that I'm also an entrepreneur and I like to create the circumstances that I'm playing in, or I like to create things and make things nice for people and bring things that they wouldn't have otherwise have access to, and that is the driving force in this case. I mean, I'm blessed to play concerts all over the world in some of the greatest concert halls and places, and not everybody has access to that. And just with a fairly brief foray into the world of that, it occurred to me rather profoundly that this is something that I should take on. When you're a young student and you're trying to find your way in the world period of music, and you also have a humanitarian consciousness, it's not obvious what it is that you can give to the world. I'm not a doctor. There are all these things that I can't do. But once I found that, I thought, oh, here's something I can do.
Mm.
Here's something that I can bring from what I know well, what I know best, and help others in their journey. It's not the same as providing those first line essential needs, housing, shelter, and safety, and whatever. But once you can secure some measure of that, there's a benefit that is greater than the sum of the parts.
Well, it's what
From
brings humanity and
Yes,
dignity back to circumstances where it has been stripped away.
yes.
And that's what the arts do.
And
Um,
inspiration, frankly, for people to
yeah.
move forward in their lives and do things that they previously heretofore, may not have been able to imagine. And we've seen that play out in a variety of ways over the years. People
Well,
who enroll in substance programs, substance abuse programs after being at our concert, after, counselors try to speak with them verbally about it, but then, suddenly they're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. It's
where
things
do your
like that.
performances take place, and are they limited to? Are they all over the country, or
They're all over the country to a certain extent. They're mostly based here in New York and then to a smaller extent in Los Angeles. And I started the Los Angeles Music Kitchen initially to feature my former teacher, the former concertmaster of New York Philharmonic, Glenn Dictorow, and Karen Dreyfus. So most of the concerts in LA feature them, and I play with them as well. And then through the lens, I tried to keep my solo career separate from Music Kitchen, but in fact, so many people love that aspect of my background that when I travel around the country and around the world doing solo concerts, Orchestras and presenters sometimes will identify with that as an outreach activity instead of the proverbial master class. So I've through the lens of my career and collaborations with orchestras, I've done music kitchen concerts in shelters around the country, and those end up being the presenter, the orchestra, or the presenter's first contact with that aspect of the community. So I feel really good about that, even though it may not be some of those run out concerts may not be a regular series. It has opened a door in a community that has never been opened before.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. And uh, we you the folks in our region know about the Paths to Dignity project, which is this similar sort of thing that I founded with our concertmaster Mitchell Newman. So we hope that we can do some kind of collaboration.
Oh,
That'd be
yes.
amazing.
That would be great.
The you give so much to so many people. You were also a teacher. You were on the faculty at Manhattan School. Um,
Yes.
and in addition to that, you, when in your free time, um, uh, play film scores.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's how we first met,
Yes.
collaborating on. I was conducting the film score, Howard Drawson's score to the new, recently released Spike Lee film, Highest to Lowest, Denzel Washington. And there you are, playing violin on the score.
Yeah.
Um, do you get a
I
chance?
enjoy that.
Do you get a chance to play film scores often?
Not that often, but I enjoy that's one of the things I love about living in New York because everything, well, that's not happening in LA. Everything, lots of things happen and get created here. And it's just something that you can always be part of when that happens. Like for example, after meeting Jeff Beal and we were collaborating on this violin concerto, he was also working on a film score that he wanted a violin soloist for, and so he and I collaborated before the concerto, I think was premiered, I think before let's see, had it even been finished yet? It was probably had been finished, but he asked me about that. So I went over to his house and his studio at the top floor where I went many times collaborating on the concerto. And that film is also just now coming out. It's called Can You Hear Me?
Oh my goodness.
Um, Charlotte Radford is both the director and the lead actress on that film.
Ah, beautiful.
And so yeah, those are two of the more recent film projects that I've been part of, and it was great to finally meet you on the Spike Lee project because you said that you had maybe been bandying my name about around a bit about this, so I'm glad to.
I had absolutely, I had heard about your performances of the Marsalis, so yes, and so we have to have you come to Bangor, and then we'll have you come back and do the Beale concerto.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to being with you both now and in the future. Yes.
And while you're in our community, you have offered to give a master class, which we're very excited about,
Mhm.
and that's going to be on the Friday, I believe, the 14th,
Mhm.
at the University of Maine. We have more information for our viewers in a little bit, but so glad that you can do that for our up and coming generations of violinists.
Yes, looking forward to that very much so.
Kelly, it's a delight to talk with you and hear about all of this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Um,
Yes, likewise. I'm so great to finally see the two of you here, and I look forward to working together very soon.
we'll see you on the 16th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Um,
Wow,
so
that was great.
wonderful.
That was fantastic. So inspiring to hear her talk about this music, that very few people, well, I'll go as far as to assume very few people know the Marsalis Violin Concerto, although it's been around for 10 years. I myself, former violinist, I didn't know about it until you mentioned it and mentioned Kelly. And yeah, it's going to be great to
Yeah.
have her here with that. Yeah.
So, opening our program, we
Yeah.
have the music of William Grant Still, who um, is um, a notable American composer, had a lot of success and premieres with conductors like Stokowski and Eugene Goossens of the Cincinnati Symphony who conducted the premiere of the work that we're about to present. William Grant Still wrote the Festive Overture, which we will be presenting. His opera, Troubled Island, was ultimately premiered by the New York City Opera. And he wrote 5 symphonies, vocal works, ballets. There's a bunch of orchestral music, suites. He wrote a number of suites of kind of American life, and chamber music and choral sacred music. So he very, very prolific composer. His Festive Overture was part, he submitted it in a blind competition. 39 other composers had written works submitted to a competition with the Cincinnati Symphony, and his piece was chosen, premiered by Eugene Goossens, conductor, music director of the Cincinnati Symphony in 1944. Just a side note, the Cincinnati Symphony and Eugene Goossens were very involved in bringing a lot of new contemporary American music to the forefront, including commissioning, I believe, as many as 18 fanfares in an anniversary year for the orchestra, which included Aaron Copland's now very well-known fanfare for the Common Man, which will open our concert in April. So the William Grant Still Overture is not a long work, but it's vibrant and has a real kind of a march feel to it as you go through it. And it reminds me on the bookend of that with the kind of opening of the last movement of the Dvorak with the trumpet fanfare. Dum 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 da da da. This piece of Dvorak, he brought his family out to the country, I think south of Prague for the summer, and wrote this work, which is really an expression of joy. He was known for having written 9 symphonies, the most famous of which is the Ninth Symphony from the New World. His Slavonic dances are also much beloved. Concerti is a violin concerto, and the cello concerto, of course, big. Like as well known as the New World Symphony. The cello concerto is a staple of the cello repertoire. Lots of chamber music, and the Rusalka. Actually, he really wanted to be known as an opera composer, and he wrote several operas. The most well-known of which was Rusalka, and the Song of the Moon is the aria that many people will sing from Rusalka. If you have a chance to listen to that, it is one of those desert island pieces. It's so beautiful. Song of the Moon from Rusalka. Just take a look at that on YouTube or something. But the Eighth Symphony, in standard format of 4 movements, it actually begins sort of in an ambiguous fashion, because it starts off in this G minor kind of mournful quality, and it's almost like I wouldn't say it's a joke, but it because it doesn't feel that way, but it's a slight. It's like it's going to be very serious, but actually it's not. And then suddenly you get the bird call to the flute, and it takes us off into this other very fun festive region. And the second movement is one of those I always find these moments of repose in Dvorak's music, and it has those beautiful breathing moments. You can just imagine yourself in the countryside, and then there's this beautiful violin solo halfway through it that is kind of a staple for all concertmaster auditions.
Yeah, it is. It's a short and sweet one, but it is quite difficult, actually.
Yeah.
You kind of wait the whole time to play it, I think, but it is gorgeous, and
Yeah.
Yes.
And the last movement is sort of variations on a theme that's presented towards the beginning of the piece, a rondo of sorts, but it's a very festive and fun piece. Uh, I, I I personally love the music of Dvorak, and it feels very honest. Um, he's sometimes he will take a turn right or turn left, and you say, "Why did you go there?" And and it's because of that that I love him because his music because it's unpredictable in that sense. Like, well, because I felt it, and it just feels like a very honest. I'm just going to go there, and that's what I'm going to do. um,
Yeah.
uh, so we've got a great program. Really looking forward to it, and thank you all for joining us for this pre-concert lecture. Speaking of the music, Will and Grant Still, Dvorak, and of course the Wynton Marsalis Violin Concerto in D, featuring our soloist Kelly Hall-Tompkins.
Yes.
Um,
And just
and
to remind everybody, she is going to be doing a master class at the University of Maine at the School of Music in Minsky Recital Hall. That'll be on Friday, November 14th at 3 o'clock. It is free and open to the public. So whether or not you are a music lover, a violinist in your spare time, or you just really want to kind of see her in action. You just heard her earlier, and boy, the way she speaks is just so inspiring. So we're looking forward to seeing her inspire the next generation of musicians as well and music lovers. So that'll be great. I hope some of you who are watching this will be able to join us. And if you're not able to attend the concert, we do offer digital concert tickets. They are $10, and you can get those through our website. The digital concert will be released from November 21st through December 5th, and you can get more information again on our website. The concert will also be broadcast on Maine Public Classical. We do professionally record all of our concerts, and that broadcast of this particular concert will happen on Wednesday, November 26th at 8 p.m. You can listen online at mainepublic.org or at 106.1 FM in Bangor. So again, yes, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really just inspiring hearing Kelly talk about all the things that she does, all of the different ways she is involved in how music is just all a part of her life. It's going to be so great to have her here for this concert weekend.
we look forward to seeing all of you Sunday, November 16th at 3 o'clock at the Collins Center for the Arts. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.